morning, Westside. Let's all stand up this morning as we worship the Lord together. I was walking the wayside, lost on a lonely road. I was chasing the highlight, trying to satisfy my soul. And all the lies I believed in left me crying like the rain. Then I saw lightning from heaven, and I've never been the same. I'm gonna climb a mountain, I'm gonna shout about it. I am a child of love. I found a world of freedom, and I found a friend in Jesus. I am a child of love. Of the fire, but I saw you in the flames. Just when I thought it was over, you broke me out of the grave. I'm gonna climb a mountain, I'm gonna shout about it. I am a child of love. I found a world of freedom, I found a friend in Jesus. I am a child of love. Yeah. Oh, I am a child of love. Yeah. Oh, I am a child of love. Nothing can change the way you love me. Nothing can change the way I belong to you. Yes, I do. Nothing can separate. Nothing can change the way you love me. Nothing can change the way I belong to you. Yes, I do. Nothing can separate. Let's put our hands together. I'm gonna climb a mountain. I am a child of love. I found a world of freedom. I am a child of love. I'm gonna climb a mountain, I'm gonna shout about it. I am a child of love. I found a world of freedom, I found a friend in Jesus. I am a child of love. Yeah. Oh, I am a child of love. Yeah. Oh, I am a child of love.
Good morning, everybody. How are we today? Listen, it is so wonderful to see all of you today. That was a lot of fun, wasn't it? That's a heck of a way to come in today. Thank you, guys. Listen, if we haven't met, my name is Joe, and I am so glad that you're here today. If this is your first time with us, we are so happy that you have chosen to share part of your day with us. And if it is your first time, the only thing we ask of you today is that you just let us know that you're here. And in the seat backs in front of you, there's a Connect card, and I would love it if you would just grab that, fill that out, and take it back to the welcome table at the end of service. Also, today, we're not going to be passing the offering baskets, but if you did come prepared to give, at the end of service, there's two ways that you can give. You can give either by go to westside11worth.com/give now, or you can drop it in the offering boxes on your way out the door. Listen, before we re-engage with singing, I want you to turn to your neighbors. I want you to tell them how happy you are to see them and how excited you are that warmer weather is right around the corner.
Sing with me this morning. Created from dust, you came and you lived among us. No, took on our frame and you walked in our pain, and now you're taking us higher. You stepped into time. You laid down your life to save us. You took all our shame. On the cross it was laid. And now you're taking us higher. And we go from glory to glory to glory. We'll never be the same. We'll never be the same. We go from glory to glory to glory. Yes, we're forever changed. We're forever changed. You call me your friend, brought into your endless kingdom. By the blood I was made, no longer a slave. And now you're taking us higher. We go from glory to glory to glory. We'll never be the same. We'll never be the same. We go from glory to glory to glory. We're forever changed. We're forever changed. Until we reach that day, love conquers everything. We'll cry and anthem singing, holy, holy. And when we see that day, we're standing face to face. We'll shout an anthem singing, holy, holy, yeah. Until we reach that day, love conquers everything. We'll cry an anthem singing, holy, holy. And when we see that day, we're standing face to face. We'll shout an anthem singing, holy, holy Lord. You took on the grave, so not even death can shake us. The victor has won, and heaven has come, and now you're taking us higher. Oh, and now you're taking us higher. We go from glory to glory to glory. We'll never be the same. We'll never be the same. You take us higher and higher and higher. We're forever changed. We're forever changed. See now one more time. We go from glory to glory to glory. Oh, never be the same. We'll never be the same. You take us higher and higher and higher. We're forever changed. We're forever changed. Oh, we're forever changed. We're forever changed. that fade are never enough. Then you came along and you put me back together, and every desire is now satisfied here in your love. Oh, there's nothing better than you. Oh, there's nothing better than you, Lord. There's nothing. Nothing is better than you. And I'm not afraid to show you my weakness, my failures and flaws. Lord, you've seen them all, and you still call me friend. 'Cause the God of the mountain is the God of the valley, and there's not a place your mercy and grace won't find me again. Oh, oh, there's nothing better than you. Oh, there's nothing better than you, Lord. There's nothing. Nothing is better than you. Oh, there's nothing better than you, Lord. There's nothing better than you. Oh, there's nothing. Nothing is better than you. You turn mourning to dancing. You give beauty for ashes. You turn shame into glory. You're the only one who can. You turn mourning to dancing. You give beauty for ashes. You turn shame into glory. You're the only one who can. You turn graves into gardens. You turn bones into armies. You turn seas into highways. You're the only one who can. You're the only one who can. Oh, there's nothing better than you. Oh, there's nothing better than you, Lord. There's nothing. Nothing is better than you.
Turn graves into gardens.
You turn graves into gardens. You turn bones into armies. You turn seas into highways. You're the only one who can. You turn graves into gardens. You turn bones into armies. You turn seas into highways. You're the only one who can. You're the only one who can.
Let's sing this out.
Oh, there's nothing better than you. Oh, there's nothing better than you, Lord. There's nothing. Nothing is better than you. Nothing is better than you.
God, that first line in this song, I searched the world, but it couldn't fail me. It rings so true to so many of us. In the Bible, you call us to either pray or to sing. If life is going rough for us, let us pray to you to help us turn these graves into gardens, turn these bones into armies, make these seas highways, Lord. And if life is good, we sing your praises because we know what you can do and that there is no one better than you. So it's in Jesus' great name that we pray. Amen. Let's all take a seat.
Well, guys, it is the week that we are beginning watch parties and listening plans and all sorts of different opportunities to engage even further in OneKC. And I want to encourage you that if you are not currently in a watch party, that there is still time to connect with one. On Tuesday evenings here at 7 p.m., Pastor David is leading a group in this building that's going to watch through the Gospel of Mark and have discussions centered around it. And I know he would love and appreciate it if you would consider joining him. There's also an opportunity online that you could join me in a Facebook group where we're going to be posting the videos on Mondays following the messages and have discussion going on throughout the week. And you can let us know that is something that you would like to engage with. If you just go to westside11worth.com/OneKC and you'll find more information and an opportunity to sign up. There also is ways for you to engage with the listening plan. I know we've already started it, but it's never too late to join us. It's one of the amazing things about the Word of God that no matter where we are in a reading plan, you can step in and you can find Jesus. And so in your message, in your message notes on the back of that, there's a couple of opportunities. There is a listing of the listening plan for this week. But there's also a way that you just individually can watch the videos. And there's this little QR code in the corner. It looks like on the side of a menu, like at Wild Wings or whatever. And you just scan that, and it's going to be able to give you access to the videos. And it'll connect you with it. It's a way to connect with the listening plan as well. And we want to encourage you to engage with that. This coming Sunday night, we are going to be having a worship and prayer evening here in this room at 6 p.m. And listen, this is our third one of these, and over the course of this 2020, during the pandemic, we had two. And they were just incredibly uplifting times. In a season when you look around at the world and sometimes it doesn't look so uplifting, this is a place for you to come and engage in worship with other people who are pointed in the same direction and to worship the living and active God. And so I want to encourage you to consider come joining us next Sunday evening at 6 p.m. You don't have to register. You just got to show up. And it's going to be a great evening. On the first Sunday of March, so March 7th, we're going to have Find Your Place. Find Your Place is an opportunity for 75 minutes for us to have a conversation about how to engage with the body of Christ, the family that Christ is building here at Westside. And what are the 4 steps that can step you even further into relationship with this community of Christ followers? We're going to do this immediately after the 11 o'clock service over lunch, or if that's not your speed, if you'd rather do this over Zoom, after that, there'll be a 75-minute Zoom conversation. And you can find out more information about this at westside11worth.com/events. Guys, the final thing I want to talk about today is baptism. Today in service, we're going to be celebrating baptism. And this is a great moment of celebration because it's an opportunity for people to come and say, plant their flag in the ground and say, I belong to a new family. And it's not a temporary family, it's an eternal family. And that's an amazing thing. So later, we're going to be celebrating that. But this is also an opportunity for you guys. As Pastor Kasey is bringing the word this week, think, and if God has laid it upon your heart that today is the day that you need to be baptized, don't let the fact that you didn't come with clothes be a bother. We can take care of that for you. And at the end of service, you'll be able to come over here and see me, and we will celebrate baptism with you. It would be our privilege to get to celebrate the relationship that you have with Jesus. But maybe today is not that day for you. March 21st is our next opportunity. March 21st is the next opportunity. We're going to have baptism for you to be able to come and again, go public with the belonging to a new family. It's such an amazing thing, and baptism is so much fun. And if you're here today, guys, I want to encourage you. We have baptism scheduled for this service. And when folks come out of the water, let's make a big old scene. Let's celebrate. Let's let this be a moment of joyful exuberance. I know I will, and I'm asking you guys to join me in this. So guys, welcome to week 2 of OneKC. You're about to be blessed by the word of God, so lean in. I love you, Westside. We'll talk again soon.
Well, it is so good to be with you this weekend, and for all our guests that are in the room, thank you so much for allowing us to be a part of your weekend. And just a reminder to what Joe said earlier, that Connect card is located in the seat back of the chair in front of you, or the chair you're in if you're at one of our tables. And if you'll fill that out before you leave, give it to the host at the offering, at the welcome table in the back. They'd love to give you a gift for being with us today. Also, hey, those of you online, we're so grateful to be joining you wherever you are. Hey, Westside that's in the building today, can we show our love to all our guests? And will you help me show our love to those online today? Will you do that with me? Hey, we love you all. Yes, we are so grateful to be together today. It's something amazing when we get to come together. But you know, it's not good to be together in a waiting room, is it? I mean, waiting rooms are the worst, aren't they? I mean, who loves to be in a waiting room? At least I don't. See, in a waiting room, it's something that's amazing that happens in a waiting room. It's like time comes, it turns into a vacuum, doesn't it? In a waiting room, seconds become hours. Every second feels like another hour passed. And hours become like days in a waiting room. It's in a waiting room that it's one of the most miserable places that we can be. And each time the door opens in a waiting room, have you ever been in that moment? And every time the door opens, you're sitting, it's just like you something inside of you just quickens. You get up on the edge of your seat and you just wait. And you're hoping, because each time that door opens, it's like it's a little dose of hope, isn't it? And there's hope of good news when that door opens. And it's in those moments that you want any news. I mean, you just want any news, because any news that's not the worst news is really good news, isn't it? I mean, because isn't that right? When waiting, any news that's not the worst news is great, good news. But then you've also had that moment that person walks through the door, the door that opens up to the other side where your loved one is. And that person walks through the door, and then they don't approach you. They approach someone else. And in that moment, something happens inside too, doesn't it? It's another feeling. It's not that quickening feeling of hope. It's something that happens. It's a sickening feeling, isn't it? And I believe the proverb writer captured it best when he said, hope deferred makes the heart sick. I mean, that's what that is like. I mean, when hope is put on hold, it makes your heart sick. And this is where Israel was. 400 years of hope on hold. 400 years of hope deferred. 400 years since God had spoken through a prophet by the name of Malachi. 400 years since God had stepped into the waiting room and Israel had heard anything from God. And we know what that's like. I mean, we know what that's like. See, to lose hope is to lose heart. To lose hope is to lose courage. To lose hope is a very loss. It's a feeling of loss, is to lose something. And this makes so much sense to me as to why the gospel writer Mark begins his gospel the way he does. See, in this, while Mark's audience is really not not the Jewish audience. Mark's audience is his Greek audience. This Greek audience who were the ones in power, they were the ones in authority. And they didn't feel Israel's pain like Israel felt their pain. But you know what Mark knew? Mark knew they needed hope. See, they had been searching too. They were a culture that was looking for hope. This is why they had so many gods. They had this multiple plethora of gods to choose from, because if anyone could promise us hope, if anyone could bring us hope, then God bring us hope. One of the gods bring us hope. And Mark writes to this Greek culture, and he says, hope is here for you. A hope for anyone is in the waiting room of your life. And so just like we don't want the doctor to give us all the details, I mean, you don't like the doctor to come in and tell you all the science behind what's going on. I mean, could you imagine the doctor coming in? And let me just kind of tell you, like, you're in the waiting room, and this is what the doctor comes and says to you. Now, I got to read this because I'm not smart enough to memorize this. So what is happening to your spouse is quite interesting. There are waves of activity we are seeing coming from groups of excitable brain cells. These trigger chemicals such as serotonin to narrow the blood vessels. Serotonin is a chemical necessary. You need to understand this. Serotonin is a chemical necessary for communication between nerve cells. It can cause narrowing of blood vessels throughout the body. And the serotonin or the estrogen, if it's your wife, those levels have changed, which has caused the meningeal blood the blood vessels surrounding the brain to expand. Now, this expansion results in increased blood flow. And you're looking at the doctor and say, wait, cut to the chase, man. Just give me the diagnosis. Give me the hope. I mean, you don't want to know the context. And the doctor just looks at you and goes, all she has or all he has is a headache. See, in something like this, Mark doesn't talk about all these details surrounding it. He cuts straight to the chase. He gives you the hope. When he writes this in Mark chapter 1, so if you have your physical Bible or your digital Bible, I encourage you to follow along with us as we open this together in Mark. It's the second book of the New Testament. He says this, the beginning of the gospel. The evangelion is the Greek word here. This evangel, this is good news. This is the gospel, the good news of Jesus Christ, the Son of God. This is the beginning. The beginning, this is a new beginning. This is not just something, see, in order to be something, a beginning, something now has to have passed, something now has become old. This is something new, the beginning of the good news, the gospel of Jesus Christ, this promised deliverer, this one who is a savior. He's a Christos, and he's the Son of God. It's the beginning of something new because God, because of the good news or the gospel of Jesus Christ, there is a new beginning. And this is what we're hoping for. I mean, this is what you want to hear in any waiting room. You want to hear that there's hope, there's something new, that what you went in for is going to be different when you leave, that there's something new on the horizon. And this is where Mark's gospel lands in our world. See, there is something new. See, this is what we also hope for you as a church family, is we hope that wherever you are in your faith, that as you are listening to these gospels through the daily readings that we're listening to and the daily Bible plan that we're listening to, as you're watching with those around you, I mean, we expect you to be watching this in community. I mean, don't watch this alone. Watch this with somebody. And as you're watching, this is our hope for you, that you have this hope that there's a new beginning for you, no matter where you are in your faith, no matter what the reason is. You are in the waiting room of whatever you're waiting for, that you see that there's a hope in Jesus, that you can experience a new beginning. And here's a serious big idea that we're going to look at as we look through this book of Mark. Believing that Jesus the Messiah is the Son of God and King of all is the beginning of new life in him. Believing that Jesus the Messiah, Jesus Christ, is the Son of God and King of all. He has all the authority. It's the beginning of new life in him. And this could be a new beginning for you. Maybe 2020 was a hard year and you want 2021 and you've been praying that 2021 will be a new beginning. I'll tell you, it's not going to be a new beginning unless Jesus is centered in that beginning. It's not going to be a new beginning for your faith unless Jesus is there. See, maybe this will be a new beginning, and you're hoping for a new beginning because of the loss that you experienced, whether it was loss of a loved one, loss of an opportunity that you've experienced recently. It's a new beginning. This could be a new beginning for your faith. For those of you that have maybe lost your faith in the past, or maybe you've left it behind, this could be a new beginning for you. This could be a new beginning for those of you that have never put your faith in Jesus. This could be your spiritual new beginning. God can make you new as you believe in Jesus and follow him. And this may be beginning for all of us. See, the gospel writer announces that Jesus is like this central figure, this force or this connection to God's complete plan. See, Jesus is the linchpin to what God is doing. See, Jesus is the linchpin to God restoring what sin has broken. This is what the gospel writer comes out when he's talking about the good news and the beginning of the good news in Jesus Christ, the Son of God, that Jesus is the one that is the force by which everything is going to be restored. See, Jesus is the one that your brokenness will be restored. And God is going to restore all things, including you and your brokenness, that no matter what your pain is, and the reason you might be in the waiting room, he wants to show up in your waiting room to bring healing to your brokenness. That no matter what your brokenness is, maybe that brokenness is a habit. Maybe that habit has been something that has been wrecking your life and wrecking the lives of others, and you can't get control of it. Well, Jesus is the linchpin to you experiencing the new life God has for you. Maybe it's a broken relationship. Maybe you're broken because of abuse in a relationship. And you've experienced the brokenness emotionally, physically, or maybe even sexually. See, Jesus wants to be the healer to you. Maybe you've experienced a struggle with depression. See, Jesus wants to bring you a new beginning, and he is your hope. And you'll find that when you have a hope, clinically, there's something that happens in our mind that our depression begins to be suppressed when we find hope, because you lose hope, you lose heart. See, there's new beginnings. And this is what we're praying for you, that Jesus, you'll see, is vital to your restoration. As you sit in the waiting room of your life and your brokenness, Jesus is your hope. And Mark wanted all people to know this. He wanted you to know this. And he didn't know you would know this, but we are so grateful that this scripture has been preserved the way it has been. And he begins and he continues to tell his story, and he begins letting them know in this ancient plan that God had been working. See, this Greek world, they loved mystery. They loved seeing how things were connected in the cosmos. And Mark does something amazing to this Greek world, this world that was intrigued by this. He says, this has been prophesied many, many years ago. And he pulls back the curtain on what happened in the past of Israel's history when he says, as it was written, or as it is written by Isaiah the prophet, behold, I send my messenger before your face, who will prepare your way, the voice of one crying in the wilderness, prepare the way of the Lord, make straight his paths. John appeared, and this is John the disciple that many of us are aware of. This is John the Baptist. John appeared baptizing in the wilderness and proclaiming a baptism of repentance for the forgiveness of sins. And all the country of Judea and Jerusalem were going out to him and were being baptized by him in the Jordan River, confessing their sins. Now John was clothed with camel's hair and wore a leather belt around his waist and ate locusts and wild honey. And now, even though Mark was writing to this Greek culture, man, this Greek culture had likely heard of John. I mean, after all, who couldn't hear about John? Mark said the whole country knew this, and most of his readers knew who John was, because how could you ignore someone preaching on the outskirts of town, dressed as a renegade, and eating like Bear Grylls? I mean, this was just an attraction with one thing, but his message was so unique. He was preaching forgiveness is possible. He was calling people to repent. And he was baptizing them for the forgiveness of sins, proclaiming this forgiveness is possible. However, this forgiveness wouldn't be through the old way of things. It wouldn't be through sacrifices. This forgiveness wouldn't come through them doing their own sacrifices. And this wouldn't be through this Greek culture begging the gods and sacrificing to their multiple gods and begging them, or even looking to pay taxes to Caesar, who made his own claim to be the Son of God. See, forgiveness of sins was through someone totally, through something new. See, John the Baptist baptized others to foreshadow the powerful reality of what was coming. This is what he was doing. He was a pace setter of what was new on the horizon because something was on the horizon. Actually, someone was on the horizon. John was this forerunner to something brand new. This news was big, and no one knew how big. John didn't even know how big it was. He just knew it was bigger than him. And Mark would say, and John preached, saying, after me comes one, look at this, after me comes he who is mightier than I, the strap of whose sandals I am not worthy to stoop down and untie. I have baptized you with water, but he will baptize you with the Holy Spirit. See, there was a permanence in the baptism that John was announcing that was coming. In this foreshadowing of what was to come, there was something new. See, the new would be better than the now. The new would make what was now become old. The new would be in who is mightier than him. Another level of power from the Holy Spirit of God. One that is bigger than the world. One who was bigger than the world is now present in the world. And what the world had never experienced, through the Holy Spirit of God, they were about to experience. See, God used John to prepare the way, getting the world ready for what was about to happen. God is preparing a new beginning in Jesus through the work of the Holy Spirit. And this is what Mark wants you and I to see. In the opening lines of this book, he wants you to see that God is preparing a new beginning, that there's a new beginning for you. There's a new hope for you, that no matter what your circumstances, there is hope. And it lies in Jesus. And Mark cuts straight to the storyline that he's talking about. And he goes, in those days, he gets straight to Jesus because this is the anticipation he's building up. In those days, Jesus came from Nazareth of Galilee and was baptized by John in the Jordan. It's interesting to me that Jesus came from Nazareth because in that day and age, Nazareth not only just had a connection to prophecy that another gospel would share with us, Nazareth had a horrible reputation. And the people in the Greek world, they were all about wealth, they were all about status. And in this world, to come from Nazareth was not that at all. Nazareth was a horrible place. And in John's gospel, John the apostle who wrote the Gospel of John, he quotes one of the earliest disciples before he started following Jesus and saying, Nazareth, Jesus came from Nazareth. Nothing good come. What good can anything good come from Nazareth? This was a horrible place. And Mark was identifying Nazareth to say out of the most insignificant place in Galilee comes someone that is the hope of the world. And Jesus emerges to the scene to be baptized by John. And Jesus just isn't anyone. He's not just one of the crowd. He's the one in the crowd. Jesus is different. He's unique. And Mark is helping us as listeners and helping that listener know that Jesus is the fulfillment to the promises of Scripture. Something bigger was going on here. And it's through this baptism that something is special. See, Jesus was baptized by John. And you know what baptism represents? Baptism represents death. Going under the water is a representation of death. And coming out of the water is a representation of resurrection. See, baptism is an example of death and new life, just like what happened in the Genesis story when God, through work of Noah, God covered the earth with water. And what happened? Death came. See, death was the wage of sin, and all of this, what emerged out of that story 40 days later, and what emerged is a new life, a new humanity, a resurrection. See, Jesus was baptized, and Jesus was representing that he was stepping into God's plan. See, Jesus was fulfilling God's redeeming work. He was fulfilling God's plan. Before he begins his ministry, before Jesus starts his ministry, Jesus is baptized as an act of obedience to God's sovereign plan. It's not that Jesus was sinful and needed to be baptized. You need to understand this. Jesus was without sin. And it's not that Jesus needed forgiveness. Jesus was stepping in to his purpose. Jesus was identifying his mission. Jesus was making his statement known that this is what I'm coming to do. I'm the one who's going to bring new life. It comes through me. See, Jesus was submitting to the Father's plan in willful obedience to give his life so all who believe and trust in him could be set free from sin, so that forgiveness of sins could be possible for you and for me. Jesus' baptism was Jesus' act of obedience to God's plan to become the Lamb of God to take away the sins of the world. Jesus stepped in the baptism waters because he knew it was God's plan. So you could receive forgiveness, that through his death and through his resurrection, we could have the forgiveness of sin. This was the moment that the world needed. This was God in the waiting room. This was the announcement that we needed. This was a pinnacle moment, not just for us as the world. This was a pinnacle moment for Jesus. As he was moving in obedience, being fully God, but also embracing his full humanity, Jesus, what happens to him is powerful, and what happens next is powerful. We read, and when he came up out of the water, immediately he saw the heavens torn open and the Spirit descending on him like a dove. Here the heavens are torn open. I love the picture of this because this is not just, okay, I'm going to peel back the curtain. No, it's like that prayer in the Old Testament where, oh, that you would rend the heavens. Oh yeah, he did rend the heavens. At this moment in time, God would rip open the heavens. At this moment of obedience in Jesus' life, God would tear open the heavens. No more will there be a chasm between man and God. No more will there be a separation between us and the giver of life. No more. And at this moment in time, God rips open the heavens. And in this moment, the time has come for God to bring healing and restoration and to bridge the gap where there once was a gap and to build a bridge of healing through the suffering servant, Jesus. And then what we read says the Spirit descended on him like a dove. And if you've ever seen a picture of this, you know it has a picture of Jesus coming out of the waters and like the heavenly light from heaven, you know, kind of like that, oh, moment. And then there's this little dove that maybe is resting on his shoulder. It didn't say it was a dove that landed on Jesus. No, the Spirit descended like a dove. Have you ever seen a dove fly? It kind of has this flutter to it. It just kind of flutters and hovers. It kind of just does this thing. See, like a dove. It was just like a dove that brought the olive branch to Noah after the 40 days of flooding. It was a picture of new life, a new beginning. And just like the dove, that was like the way that the Spirit of God hovered over creation was a new beginning. The Genesis story. See, in Genesis 1, we see this, that the same Spirit that hovered over the waters at creation, well, that Spirit now rests on Jesus. See, in the beginning of creation account, the Spirit hovered over the waters. And now that Spirit rests on Jesus. When we read in Genesis 1 that in the beginning God created the heavens and earth, the earth was without form and void, and darkness, hopelessness was everywhere. Over the face of the deep, and the Spirit of God was hovering over the face of the waters. See, the Creator in Genesis, and that narrative is now on earth and has an identity. See, the Creator now has an identity. God is now in a body. John, another disciple, would talk about how Jesus is connected to that Genesis account when he was in the beginning was the Word, and he would use this Greek word here called logos, and this word logos was like this foundational word for everything. It was the meaning of everything. It was the reason for everything. He was like identifying in the beginning was the reason for everything, and he connects us directly to Jesus. And the Word was with God. And more than that, the Word was God. He was with God in the beginning. Through him, all things were made. Through him, without him, nothing was made that has been made. In him, look what he says, was life. In him was life, and that life was the light of all mankind. This word, this logos, the reason for all, was now present in the world, present in power. The reason for life is now on a mission to bring new life. A new creation is made through Jesus, just like the first creation was. And a new beginning is found only in him. Hope is alive when you see that life is in Jesus. I want to say that again. See, hope is alive when you see that life is in Jesus. A new creation comes through Jesus. A new creation is made through Jesus, and a new beginning is found only in him. So God rips open the heavens, and he rips open the barrier between God and man, heaven and earth, and look what happens next, Mark says. And a voice came from heaven saying this, "You are my beloved son, with you I am well pleased." This was a sign, this was a signal to all that could hear it. And in this was the announcement that tore open the heavens. The Father's voice comes and now has identified Jesus, and the Holy Spirit is empowering him. This was also not just a special moment for the world and those around. This was a special moment for Jesus. See, Jesus, God the Father was identifying Jesus. These words were his identity. You are my beloved son. I love you. One of the words that your child wants to hear more than anything else is not that I love you because of what you do. No, I love you because of who you are. You're a part of this family. I love you. And in this moment, these words are like fuel to Jesus. That God spoke to Jesus' place in the Trinity as place in God's family, in the Trinity, that place, and God was validating him. See, God's announcement are clues that Mark's giving us. Clues to Jesus' power as king, his position as equal with God, and Jesus' purpose to fulfill God's mission. When God would say about Jesus that you are my son, this is my son, this is the Son of God. See, two other people in the Greek world that held this title. One was Davidic kings. See, they would be called God's sons. And also Caesar himself. Caesar himself self-proclaimed that he was the Son of God. And not only that, see, this was understood that Caesar believed he was God. See, in this claim, God the Father announces to this Greek world that this is God. This is my son. You look to him. And Caesar in that moment will not be God, and his throne would there be in question. And now Jesus would have all authority. And in this, God was now in a body with the power of God resting on him to fulfill the mission that God had called him. Because when God said, "I am pleased with you," there was a sense of purpose that was here. There was a sense that you just stepped into this act of obedience. And I want you to know that I know you're fulfilling my work, and my pleasure is on and towards you. There's something powerful in this. See, not just for Jesus, but when you walk in God's identity, you can face anything. When you walk in knowing who you are in Jesus and whose you are in Jesus, you can face anything. You fear nothing. This is exactly what happened to Jesus. Knowing his identity and knowing his purpose, Mark tells us what happens next. The Spirit immediately drove him out into the wilderness, and he was in the wilderness for 40 days, being tempted by Satan. And he was with the wild animals, and the angels were ministering to him. Jesus in this moment would be tempted by Satan for one purpose, to overcome temptation. Not just for him, but to fulfill God's plan for you. See, he would hit the undo button on what Adam did. What Adam would do in the beginning of time, inviting sin into all of our narrative. Jesus, in this moment, he would walk into this wilderness knowing that the reason he had to know who he was is because he was about ready to face one of the hardest trials. Other than going to the night before the cross when he had to give up that one last time. This was a hard thing for Jesus, 40 days of fasting, so he could overcome temptation. And the reason he had to overcome temptation is so he could present every one of us to God the Father as sinless. See, he became sinless so he could present sinless people, that he could put his righteousness, what he did on your behalf and what he did that we couldn't do for ourselves in this time and throughout this was where God then put him on a mission after this. But he had to overcome temptation so you could overcome the curse of sin. So sin would have no power on you. So the curse of sin would have no eternal power on us. See, he would come out of that temptation victorious over sin to present everyone who believes in him as sinless before God the Father. And Mark, in this first opening of these lines, gives us a snapshot of Jesus' identity and his mission. See, he gives us a snapshot of who Jesus is. And he also gives us a snapshot of his mission. A mission to fulfill divine prophecy as we read through what Mark says about the prophet Isaiah. To defeat Satan. And it's in this moment that he defeats and he overcomes the temptation of Satan, defeating Satan's grip on him. Therefore, nothing's going to stop him. Not even Jesus before the night of the cross. He'll easily give up he will willfully give up through an act of surrender the night before the cross. So he could defeat the curse of sin through his death. See, the doctor is now in the waiting room. And he's got hope for life, for all. For all. This is the beginning, Mark would say, of good news. God is with his people. It may not look like what you have expected of him. He may not have come the way you have expected him to come. He may have appeared out of nowhere in your life. But he has good news for all who are searching. See, the gospel is that Jesus is the completion of God's saving work throughout history. This is what Mark wants you to know. This is what Mark has for you. This is the story he's writing down so you can believe in Jesus. So you, in your life, in your walk, in the world you're living, the reason that you're in that waiting room, you can have a hope that he is the new beginning. And you can have a new beginning, that you can walk out of that waiting room with a hope in Jesus. That you can walk out of that waiting room with new life. It may not change your circumstance, but you can be changed from the inside out and you can face anything because you know whose you are. You know who you are in Jesus. That no matter your history, no matter what you've done in your past, no matter what's been done to you in your past, that you can have a hope because God tore open the heavens and change history for you. See, here's the big idea that I want you to know. You have hope in a new beginning because Jesus completed God's saving work. You have hope of a new beginning because of what Jesus has done. He completed God's saving work. Jesus, I want you to check out, you got to understand that Jesus stepped into those waters of baptism. Jesus stepped into those waters of baptism fully knowing, fully understanding that the water covering his face symbolized the death he would face. He knew exactly what he was stepping into. And Mark lets you know this. He knew exactly that in order for people to truly repent and turn from their way of living and believe and trust in who God is and his saving work, in order for them to turn to the gospel, believe in the gospel, to find life, Jesus would have to give up his life willfully. This was the news that the world wanted to know. This was the news that Mark was sharing that is the hope for all mankind. It's the hope for you. Jesus stepped into your waiting room so you can believe in him and you can find life in him by allowing him to give you a new beginning. By turning from your way of living and trusting in him, Jesus steps in to the waiting room for you. This is the hope maybe you've been looking for. Don't look anywhere else other than to him. You know that proverb that we started off with wasn't the full proverb. It actually says this: hope deferred makes the heart sick, but a longing fulfilled is a tree of life. Just like the tree of life that we see in the garden story, a tree of life that gives life. See, that's Jesus. Jesus is your longing fulfilled. Jesus is what your life has been looking for. He is your life fulfilled when you see your life in him. And that light, Jesus would be the life of all mankind, a light to the world, a light that was about ready to make his presence known in an amazing way. And this is where we're going to pick up next week. So don't miss next week. But I want to ask you right now, what are you waiting for? What are you waiting for? What are you waiting for? Jesus is in the waiting room for you. Will you look to him? Will you turn toward him? And will you put your hope in him? Will you believe in him? Will you come to the conclusion that he is who he said he was? Who Mark said he was? And will you put your hope in him? Because Jesus has finished God's work so you can have a new beginning in him, no matter what you're going through. Now, some of you, maybe you've never put your faith in Jesus, and today is the first time for you to put your faith in Jesus, to trust in him as Savior and as King, the one that you will follow. And I want to invite you to do something. Today's that day. I mean, more than just pray with you, why don't you just join us in baptism? Or maybe today is a day that you've believed in Jesus, but you've never said, you know what, I'm following him. See, Jesus went into the baptism waters ahead so you could follow him in obedience. He stepped into the baptism waters out of obedience so we could follow him and find life. And when we step into the baptism waters, we're saying we trust in what he's done for us. And if you've never done that, we want to invite you to do that with us this morning. We want to celebrate that with you. And so just come on over. We've got some baptisms that we're going to celebrate. I want you to celebrate big. And we're going to sing a song as we do this. But will you take a moment now, put your eyes on Jesus, your hope? If your next step is to be baptized, we invite you to do that. And let's sing together.
My revelation, Christ Jesus crucified. Salvation through repentance at the cross on which he died. Now hear my absolution, forgiveness for my sin. knows no end. Your grace goes on forever and on again. No power can stand against you. No curse assaults your throne. No one can steal your glory, for it is yours alone. I stand to sing your praises. I stand to testify, for I was dead in my sin. Now I rise, now I rise, as Christ was raised to life. Now in Him, now in Him, I will rise, as Christ was raised to life. Now in Him, now in Him, I live.
Put your hope in Him. Put your hope in Him, because Jesus finished God's work. And you can have a new beginning in Him. Can we celebrate one time for all of these again? Will you just do that with me? Yeah, that's amazing, right? Yeah. Oh, yeah. Our prayer partners are going to be up at the front of the room here at the tables in the corner. They would love to pray with anyone for any reason today, so make yourself available to Him. I want to bless you before we go on and just pray over us today. Can you bow your head with me? Father, thank you for rending open and tearing open the heavens. Thank you for Jesus and the work that He did for us. Hope is alive because life is in Jesus. We thank you. And may we look to Jesus for our hope no matter what we face. And may we see a new beginning and a new life is always available in Him. It's in your name, Jesus, that we pray. Amen. God bless you, Westside. You have a wonderful week, and we'll see you next week.